Welcome to the Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a Coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Thomas van der Zander, Cannabear, Gary Hughes, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, Mr. Amish, Sensual Goat, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMails24, Unamento, Iron26, Endless, Golden McKinnon, Retro Bill, Level Plain Poem, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W., Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Chow Young Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Well, here's the
Okay,
thing. You don't
Dave.
have to, Oh, wait, Nathan's here. Hello, Nathan.
Hello.
Hey, Nathan.
Kind of just ninja sneaked in here. I'm in the kitchen. I'm not in front of the computer. Oh, good morning. How are things going?
Very well.
Okay.
How are things
Yeah,
going
you're
in
not in
Discord?
effect. What's that?
Just
Monday.
back at you.
Yeah, it's Monday. I was gonna say you're not an effective ninja with that ding dong from Skype or Hangouts.
Yeah, blame Neil.
Yeah, it seems like a slow start Monday. Oh, Neil, are you there? Me and Tank, we were just chatting a little bit.
I'm always here.
How's Neil today?
I feel bad for Adam,
Morning.
man.
What? England lose?
Yeah, it was so crazy because they almost freaking tied it. It's just like insane. The guy hits his shot, the goalie saves it, rebound comes off, another guy hits his shot, and his freaking teammate saves it with his head going right in the net. I was like, wow, they are freaking just destined to never win, huh?
Well, maybe we should get back to Dank and talk about the scooter instead of sports. Dank just
And I'm
got
not
a
big on
scooter.
soccer, but I was rooting for him for Adam.
Oh, okay.
I was watching that game the other day. That was pretty good. I liked it.
I will say this one thing. I think they're so dramatic, the way they fall and go down, but they show that there was a night game with Argentina and Colombia, and they showed Messi's ankle because he was out. They took him out. His ankle looked like a freaking balloon when they showed it on the sidelines. I was like, wow. Meanwhile, I'm saying, get in the freaking game, play. No way you're playing on that thing. I thought you were going to be talking about how Donald Trump is known as the Antichrist now.
Remember, we're looking for the blessed hope. We're not looking for the end time bad guy. Right, Neil?
Don't matter to me because God wins.
I just say you're serious.
What's
Really?
up?
No kidding. I was saying in Ballbusters because he's or now they're going to say that he received a mortal wound and survived. I was right. I just seen somebody posted something. It must be that Trump's. It was predicted in the Bible.
This stuff has been going on for a while, Neil. I think a few years back we heard that Obama was the Antichrist. And
Yeah, but we're talking specifically about when he receives a mortal wound and survives. Obama never received a mortal wound. And he said they're going to link this to a mortal wound. Meanwhile, he's got grazed in the ear. Just fanatics.
Well,
You're on the roller coaster now.
well, like I said earlier, okay, like Christians are supposed to look for the return of Jesus. Didn't say anything about looking for the Antichrist or the end time bad
No,
guy
but
or
it
the
says study
Misappropriation or
yourself,
the destruction.
study to show yourself approved. If Jesus says to look at these end times, be aware of these things. So don't say it like that. Nobody's standing there
Yeah, but
waiting for the Antichrist.
the thing is, like, you see, the church is not going to be here. He can't be revealed while the church is here.
That's what you say. There's others that say differently. I believe the same way. There's scripture that backs it, that says, because you are so faithful, I will keep you from the hour of temptation.
Right. Well, there's a lot of scriptures, but the latest one that came to mind was like yesterday or the day before when I seen this stuff, and I'm like, well, wait a second, that doesn't add up because we are supposed to be looking forward to the return of Jesus, right? Doesn't say anything about looking forward to the Antichrist, and then after the Antichrist, we look forward towards Jesus. No, we're supposed to be
Nobody
expecting the
looking
Lord to return any minute.
Hold on. Nobody's looking for the Antichrist. Who's
Hold
looking
on.
for the Antichrist?
What do you think these guys are doing making these videos? They're saying this is the Antichrist, that's the Antichrist. What are they doing? They're looking for the Antichrist.
No, they're reporting things and they're lining up with scripture. See, this is what I always said. If Jesus said no one knows the time nor the hour, how can I be here when the Antichrist is revealed? Because then I could just start doing some math and I know when Jesus is coming back. So,
Yeah, I got you. But
you know what I'm trying to say?
yeah, but I know what you're saying, but you're not getting what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say, if
I
people
do
are
get what
saying,
you're
look, this is,
saying.
oh, well, all right. Well, I was just saying, let me just put it out there one more time, real quick. I was just saying, if you're spotting out the Antichrist here and there, that is, in a sense, looking for the Antichrist, right?
Maybe.
Because this happens all the time. People are always pointing the finger. Is this the Antichrist? Is that the Antichrist? In other words, they're looking. Who could it be? Who could it be? Maybe it's this guy. Maybe it's that guy.
Yeah,
Right?
well, I
And
laugh
in
at that
other words,
because what I just
no, I was cutting you off. Go on.
that's what I'm saying. I laugh at that because how? Because we're not going to be here. So how are you telling me, oh, this is the Antichrist? Because then you're telling me that you know who the Antichrist is. Now you just have to wait for a few events to happen, and then you can pinpoint the time. And nobody can. So I think it's a fallacy to do that.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, no, that's like another argument, right? Like, because after like the Antichrist gets revealed and stuff like that, it's like uh, you kind of got a countdown from there on, right? And Jesus won't surprise
Yeah.
anybody after that, so to say, right?
Yeah, because once he's revealed exactly, it's a countdown. Then you got the 3.5 years of peace, 3.5 years of war. I mean, that's why I laugh when I see these people saying this one's the Antichrist and this one's the Antichrist. Well, guess what? If you don't believe Jesus Christ is Messiah, you're Antichrist.
Oh, hold on. There's no need to laugh. I mean, we all missed it, and you know, and in the eyes of somebody else, maybe we look like we're missing it, right? So it just is what it is. We're all at different places. We all understand it a little bit differently.
There's no private interpretation of Scripture.
I agree, but not everybody is how do I put it? Remember,
So
Paul
you're
said, "I
saying we
know in
got
part."
our witches and our hold on, we wait, Weisses and with Weiss and Jiren in the Christian realm too? they're not quite there yet?
They aren't. The Jaron is not a confessing Christian, is he? So he's not there then.
I'm making a comparison.
Well,
Jaron's a God hater. That's a fact.
well, remember what Jesus said on the cross,
All right,
right?
what's new in Florida?
What's that?
Well, what do you want me? Okay, what did Jesus say on the cross? Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Or Eli, lama sabachthani. Which one? He had a few.
On what they
He
do.
had a few statements for the cross.
Forgive them for they know not what they do. Oh, there was a
Did I
bunch of
tell
Jesus
you
haters
I
there on the
played
cross, right?
Did I tell you? Did I tell you that I played Jesus in a play? I had to do the whole cross scene.
I don't recall at the moment.
My brother and a few of the other guys, they were supposed to be the Roman guards, right? Leading me up the way and cracking me and hitting me. And I tell you what, pulling was sort of like trying to pull from there in the cross. I did such a great performance that the whole cast was breaking down. My brother's sitting there crying, and he's supposed to be a Roman soldier. I'm looking at him like, "Would you get with it?" Because we did it to the. You ever heard that song by Carmen? "This blood is for you."
No.
If you ever heard it, you'll know what I'm talking about. He narrates the whole cross into a song, and that whole scene with me carrying the cross up to Calvary was to him narrating it. So I was, acting to what he was saying. So when he said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do," they were all crying at the cross. It's supposed to be Roman soldiers. The whole cast fell apart.
Okay.
I know you're like this, righteous. I prayed the night before. I said, "Jesus, I want this to be powerful, and I want this to impact people when they run to the altar and get saved." And so I believe God gave me the ability to portray it, and the whole church went forward to receive the Lord. Now I don't know where they are now, but it was powerful.
All right, well, that's good. That's glory to God in Jesus' name, not glory to Neil, right?
When did you?
But yeah, I
When
got
did righteous? You annoy me when I talk to you. Talk about flat Earth.
Nathan, are you there?
Yeah.
Just having some fun, Neil.
Have you got a video lined up for today?
Maybe this going to Antarctica to prove flat Earth YouTube. Says potential review video. Is that you that posted that?
Yeah, there's a few more. I was just wondering which one you fancied. There's about 4 to choose from.
Okay, what are the other options then?
Well, that particular one is on a podcast which I think has about 80,000 subscribers, and that video is only a few days old and has, I think it was 11,000 views, which is pretty good considering the subject. So I think it's on a normie podcast. We don't usually cover flat Earth. The others, one was Mick West on a podcast which was very recent, had a lot of views as well. Talking about technology, and another like a similar sort of science communicator on a podcast talking nonsense. That was quite funny though. I sent a screenshot of that. Type in aliens into YouTube.
That's the Mick
So
West
that's
one,
3
right?
there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the Mick West one. Might be one more.
Or we can do Dave Weiss's Roseanne Barr interview.
I say do that. That's going to be, well, maybe he redeemed himself. You never know.
The other one was the Law Lodge on kind of like a normie podcast talking about flat Earth, what he'd learned and discovered, and his recent venture into the topic.
I don't know. The Law Lodge guy seems too irritatingly stupid. Maybe he's not. It's just what he comes across when he's talking about this subject. We were covering it on Ballbusters on Saturday. That was Law Lodge, right?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess David Weiss might get you more views yourself as well.
Which one's got the best information to critique? I mean, you pick. If I was going to pick, I'd probably pick the going to Antarctica to prove a flat Earth. That would be probably my first choice.
That's where the pastor, he lays down affirm the consequent fallacy to the normies on the podcast, and they just nod along. He does it pretty early on, though. Although it's quite a long video, all the information he needs straight out of the gate.
Okay, should we do that one? I'll do a
Maybe
straw poll.
put
Ask
to
the
the
audience
audience to
see what
vote,
they
because
want.
Neil wants the David Weiss one, you see.
Yeah,
so
well, I'll ask the audience. When we go live, I'll ask them straight away. I'll say, do you want to do going to Antarctica to prove flat Earth, where our good pastor friend goes through the affirming the consequent fallacy, or do we want to respond to Dave Weiss on Roseanne? Let them pick. Anybody else got an opinion on it?
Does it not make you laugh seeing Mick West still talking about aliens?
I just caught this Level Earth Observer's latest video. It's got Jaron in there with his accusations. You're probably not going to like that video, Nathan.
Why?
What did you say?
He's blaming you for I don't know, some situation. I don't know. Jaron
Let's
is
listen to
calling you a
that.
scammer. He's calling you
I
a
just
scammer.
caught that. Sorry. Yeah, I just caught that. He was calling Level Earth Observer and Nathan liars and shills. It was a pretty good response from Leo.
Come again. He's calling myself and Leo shills.
Yep.
Because
Oh, the usual reasons. I'm sure you've heard it before from Jaron.
yeah, fill me in.
He takes the Ballbusters episode from the other day. We're attacking. He seems to be saying we're attacking our own side, and anything that you've gotten as far as like negative, I don't know, suppressed views or whatever, it's your own fault.
You're babbling about negative suppressed views.
I want that video.
No,
Yeah,
send me
he's
one.
just talking crap. You're gonna have to watch it.
Yeah, I'm not intending to. I'd just rather you guys filled me in. Okay,
You're gonna have to start working weekends, Nathan, because there's too much happening while you're away.
Nah. This is nothing new. So
It's the same old story. FED bad, FED causing dissension instead of uniting, but we don't unite with Feast of Nonsense. When you have validation, then come see us.
I mean, you can look at it that way if you want to, but if you cross-reference our criticism of Candice Owens, we're referencing Jaron for having the same exact problem, just throwing the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to science, because people have used the word of science. Candice Owens' current rhetoric is, I denounce the religion of science. Like, whoa, it's not a religion, it's a method. People have claimed to have it when they haven't. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. exactly the same things I've approached Jaron personally about. So when we see people doing the same thing, we're going to criticise it. Now, I don't know if I'm reading too much between the lines. Obviously, I've only heard your very vague explanation of what he said more recently. Come to understand that when we're critical of things that we've approached people like Jaron with personally, and they disagree, so well, you're entitled to disagree. But calling me a shill because I stand by something I've tried to educate you in isn't going to make me a shill. It has nothing to do with the view count. That's all Jaron's obsessed with. He's obsessed with his view count.
The Hillary Clinton syndrome.
Me, I'm more concerned with my revenue than my view count, if I'm honest. But again, a bit crass.
That's brilliant. Now you'll have people saying Nathan's only in it for the money. He
I am.
knows the Earth is a globe.
I'm only here for the money. This is a job.
No, I'm saying they say that you know it's a globe because, they caught you in a conversation with Anthony Riley saying it's perfect globe proof.
Yeah, they can never actually substantiate what that is, though. So contextually, you present a screenshot that I've sent to Anthony Riley about a conversation we had at St. Bees in a camper van whilst photographing lighthouses. And me saying, don't publish it, they'll just use it as globe proof, got condensed down to a screenshot where I say, this will be used as the perfect globe proof or something like that. But they just see the words perfect globe proof and go, Nathan knows it's a globe. Okay, fine. If you're going to suggest that that message, without any context, proves that I know Earth's spherical and that there is some sort of perfect globe proof out there, what is it? Go on, tell us what it is. Now, I know that I'm telling Anthony not to release a 1 pixel flashing in a night that you can't see anything in the image. It's too dark. That was the image that he was intending or threatening to release. And I was saying, don't. They'll just use it as globe proof. So when they don't offer anything, when they say Nathan knows it's flat because here's a screenshot that Cat Earth took, you're like, okay, what is the proof then? You're saying the words perfect globe proof, okay? Doesn't really give you much without context, but obviously you know what this perfect globe proof is. What is it? So, you don't know, do you? Now, even if they did know, it's this piece of evidence that we filmed at St. Bees of a lighthouse 30 miles away flashing, but there's just 1 pixel. We can see it with our naked eye, clearer than you can in the imagery. But what use is it? Anyway, people want to believe that some opponent of theirs somehow hints at suggesting they're on their side. Their cognitive bias kicks in and they're like, oh, this affirms my belief. Because their belief is that I'm lying about this. That's what they want to believe. No, he's just lying. No, well, hold on. What about the evidence? What about the standards we actually lay down? It's just whether or not I, as an individual, believe that Earth is a sphere. If I did turn around and say it's a sphere tomorrow, nothing would change. Me as one individual saying it's a sphere. Does that mean anything? No. Standards of evidence prove that it's a sphere if you add them. But you don't. That's the point.
I haven't seen Ranty on the front of Time
Wait.
magazine yet. My story.
Did you say evidence?
Yeah, because he was
say
tricked into going back to the ball to give a few fundamentalist zealot globe believers a bit of pain relief for a day or two. And the moment that was all over, they all forgot about him. Obviously. Now he's given up on his YouTube career completely. Hasn't posted anything for donkeys. And the last things he did post were about Amber Heard. You know, and he was getting hundreds of thousands of views on Amber Heard videos. And then nothing. That's it. Short-term gain. You know, people like that remove themselves from what is a very good community and then decide, I don't know, these others that have been telling me I'm an idiot for the last 3 years, I'll be friends with them. They seem really nice.
And then I'll disappear.
Yeah. Occasionally you get these rumblings from the Globe side where they talk about what goes on in the Discord servers, where there's bullying and general abuse and people are really vicious to each other, and if you don't toe the line then you get in trouble. You're like, oh, it sounds horrible. That's what it takes to be an anti-flatty, does it? Toeing the line in some horrible, degenerate Discord server. Oh, how lovely for you. I don't have to suffer that. Yeah, the people who oppose this have a motivation that drives them to attack others personally. Attack their families, their livelihoods, things like that. Not the arguments, not the position. That scares them. The people, on the other hand, are just individuals to be conquered. And what, conquering them will reaffirm your sphere belief in their mind? Yeah, it will. If they'd only just shut up about flat Earth, it would all go away. I notice that history has started repeating itself, yet again, with clone centres. People now think that there's clones out there, just like they did 10 years ago when I first arrived in this subject. Much to my irritation. Less so the second time around. You're like, wow, history really does repeat itself. They've introduced the next, generation of flat earthers into the subject 10 years down the line, having dealt with us in the best way that they can, suppress us to the bottom of the lists and promote anti-flat earthers in our place, making it very profitable to oppose the subject. Then you get a whole new wave of them. And what are they all introduced to? Oh, well, obviously, by the leaders of the last 10 years, Dave Weiss and Jaren, they're going to be introduced to ether and true earthism, under the banner of flat earth, of course. And then they'll get introduced to clone centres, maybe a bit of 9/11, bit of chemtrails. History repeats itself. Piece of nonsense followed by every fringe conspiracy that's nonsensical that you can imagine. Slapped straight on the side of flat earth. Sometimes with flat earth on the title.
I would say the chemtrail stuff is well, there's some pretty good stuff there.
It's just not related to the subject, is it? I mean, that's the thin end of the wedge. At the other end
It's
of the
related
issue,
in the
you've got
sense that
Mandela effect and clone centres. Chemtrails,
I would say
it's
it's
just the thin end
related
of the
in
wedge.
I would say it's related in the sense of like how we're misled, right? That's what connects all these things together. Once people see they're misled in one area, they see they're misled in another area, and it just kind of it's like a chain reaction.
Yeah,
Like checking out where else have we been misled.
yeah, and the opposition narrative that is imposed on flat Earth, as opposed to the fact that Earth is measured flat, aligns with that ability for people to panic and want an alternative, and find the excitement and joy in the mysticism, or the joy and excitement in the conspiracy that it's led to be when you come to the subject. Well, it's the conspiracy of flat Earth. Or perhaps it's a psyop
Well,
of flat Earth. All of this kind of crap is how it's packaged when you first get here.
I mean, I get you, but in my early epi days, when the algorithm was great, it just kept giving me all this stuff I wanted, and what the thing I wanted was actually trying to figure out how it actually works. Now
Yeah,
I
well,
understand it.
yeah.
Like,
You wanted what I wanted. I wanted that. I wanted what we give the audience now. I wanted it 10 years ago. I remember searching and
well,
searching and searching and finding plenty of flat Earth. Plenty of people talking about how they found out Earth might be flat, and then talking about Mandela effect, or finding out Earth might be flat, but look, what about your chakras? What about your internal energy? What about your vibrations? Now let's look at this star that's vibrating in a jar and speculate about what the sky is. I was just met with endless swathes of garbage nonsense backed by nothing, with the title Flat Earth above it. And then a lot of straw men arguments that were actually purveyed by people who got some popularity in the subject, punting feast of nonsense.
Yeah, I gotcha. There's a lot of stuff to navigate out there, and it seems like it's always going to be like that. But yeah, I kind of get what you're saying too. Yeah, but they're tied in together. It seems like you can't separate them really. I mean, you can try. You can teach people, say, hey guys, you know what I mean? It's okay to speculate, but just make sure it's clear that it's speculation. And um, if you go about it something like that, then people kind of catch on more a little bit and go, oh, okay.
We have no need to speculate anymore.
Well, you kind of do in a sense, because that's what encourages you and stirs you up to investigate, to prove or disprove, right?
I don't see that as my position. People come to this show wanting to know about what the world is based on the title, Flat Earth Debate. Now, Flat Earth Debate is true in name only because there is a discussion about it taking place in the general public. The debate is factually over when we point out that the globe belief comes from flat Earth measurements. There is no longer a debate. The only reason it's still the title is because until the entire Western world understands and appreciate how Earth is actually measured, it will continue to be called a debate. Incorrectly.
I got you. You got your way that you want to go about it, right? But I understand what you're trying to drive through.
Show
But
people
there's
it's flat.
also
I
other
just
people that have.
I just
more
think, what did
debate.
I want? What did I want when I was searching and searching and searching 10 years ago? And coming across more and more conspiracy, getting more and more frustrated. What did I want? I wanted what we provide now. That's what I wanted. 10 years later, I've got it to offer. I want to give it out. That's it. That's all I want to do.
And
Right,
nobody
you can do
wants
that.
it.
I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm just
I
saying
wasn't
there's
asking your permission.
yeah, right.
Nathan, the funny thing is nobody wants it.
Yeah,
That's
you'd
the
be
sad
surprised.
thing.
No, that's wrong. I've got a loyal and increasing subscriber and view count, Neil. If you want to apply the Jaron standard, as we were talking about it earlier, I do pay attention to it because it makes direct influence on my income. Now, if you want to say, well, that's all you're here for, well, that's what most people do work for. Some people love their jobs, some people do not.
Funny, I've been watching a lot of your earlier shows, and you can see it in that time, the progression of Nathan wading through the crap to get to where he's got to. Sort of
Yeah.
weeding through all the. You could see him searching for that. It comes out in their shows if you watch the old stuff.
Yeah, especially
Watch
the
him
old
slowly
interviews.
become the monster he's become.
Hardly. But the old interviews, I was just figuring out who's actually got some useful information to offer. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get to interview Quantum Eraser back in the day. It would have been a lot quicker if I had. Most people that were useful back then had anecdotal experience that led them to the impression that Earth was flat. It affirmed their belief strongly. That's what most people had to offer, me included. I could talk about being a rep and flying all over the world and looking out the back window at how flat it was. Well, that is one man's anecdotal account, and there was lots of them that defied globe rhetoric and could be shown in mathematical terms to defy globe rhetoric. But there was never a silver bullet. All through the times I was doing the interviews, I was still looking up the subject and trying to find it. What is that one thing? And it came after a lot of research. It came after a lot of investigation, a lot of debate. Well, I'm very proud of where we are now and what we've got to offer. Now, Neil's saying nobody wants it. It's not true. Nobody can find it. That's different. When they do find it, they're incredibly grateful for it. Not just grateful, loyal and generous to me. Now, is it enough? No. But that's not the point. The level of generosity that people afford me keeps me going. You know, the kind of the hope that I'll be able to cover the mortgage this month keeps me going. But my point is that dedication has come from people coming and being incredibly grateful for the information that they receive. Incredibly grateful. So, you know, it's not the case that no one wants it. It's just very difficult to find, like any good information. Not just
You
going to
know
be
what
there.
I mean by nobody wants it. I'm not talking about our people, the people that are on board. I know they want it and they're hungry for it.
Just quickly, recently, Mr. Anderson, he's a lawyer. He's getting into debates. And he puts out a video. Here's how to debate flat earthers, and he goes into a flat Earth server, and he's held to a high standard that he has to go away and research his own religion that he's punting. And what he described as quite some time, and it was difficult maths to find and understand. So the standards are so high that you can't just turn up to a flat Earth server now, a good one, and punt nonsense. You're going to have citations, claims that you don't understand. And then even when you come back with them, the flat Earth you use, the prerequisite, is going to be pointed out to you at some stage. So he was a recent example of how high the standards are now.
Because
when he was in the 24/7 Discord server, he was sent away and asked for citation. He eventually came back with it. And then when he did, they just pointed out the plane of reference that he used. And then the one baller pretending to be a flat Earth, that platypus, and he took him as his victory when all the flat Earthers in there and Jedi and so forth were all saying he presented nothing that proved the sphere. Don't remember that?
so what you're saying is there was a cheerleader pretending that it was a Glurf victory in that moment.
Apparently so.
What a shock. These people are so despicable. They get their citation, you point out our flat Earth's being measured in it, and some arsehole comes along and says, this is our victory on the globe. What? Oh, I see, because there's an audience, there's people listening, and if they haven't quite followed along, when the flat Earthers doing the victory dance that might get their attention, as long as you pipe up and say, no, it's actually our victory, you might confuse a few people. It's just degenerate behaviour, isn't it? We get it all the time. All right, so we're measuring Earth flat. So in your diagram, blur, blur, rumpus, rumpus, cause as much chaos. Hold on, I'm just about to make the conclusory winning point. Obviously, this is time for a new question. Maybe 5 white knights need to step in, so nobody can hear the conclusion how badly you lost. That's what they do. Tactics.
That's exactly what happened this morning when I was in 24/7 server. I was talking to this guy named Matt, who is a Glober talking to another Glober. And the bottom line, he was asking him what a radius is defined as. Because at some point he was bringing up a globe in celestial navigation, and I said, well, a globe doesn't have anything to do with celestial navigation. He's like, okay, so could you get me any kind of academic paper that will say exactly what you said? And I said, well, no, because I didn't say that a quote that I'm giving you from an academic paper would be evidence, and that would be silly anyway. But actually, I'm just going to go ahead and prove that elevation angles to Polaris need and require a flat plane, which I did get the citations for. Now, the 30 minutes in between just getting that simple message out, he spoke through it the entire time.
Yeah, that's what they do. Oh, this is going to destroy my worldview. I know I'll talk through every last word you say that's going to contradict my globe position. And then when you've finished, because no one's heard it, I'll take it as a victory. You haven't proven anything, I'll say. Well, you haven't because no one heard it, because I talked the entire time. Aren't I clever? Maybe if I can get the person who's trying to get this message across as irritated as possible, I can then demonize them. Take that as my victory. That's what they do.
Well, I was explaining how, because and I also gave him a screenshot of, a Google search. And so he was like, I want a paper. And I'm like, well, it's cited in a paper. And so he's like, well, I want the link. And I'm like, okay. So he's like, well, so nothing in this reference is going to contradict what you're saying. And I'm like, well, check this out. Pay attention to the citation. And they don't understand the citation and the reference. Like QE's example, well, XYZ fact, therefore, three-toed gnomes. So
No,
just
that's not the
because
best example. The
paper,
best example of this, just to keep this short, is to say that you've got a murder suspect, and he's in the court, and he's got a diary, and page 1 through 5 details explicitly how the crime was committed. Not only does it detail it, it has details that none of the public could possibly know. However, on page 67, it makes it explicitly clear that he's not a murderer and has never murdered anybody in his entire life, and couldn't even dream of doing such a horrible thing. So page 1 through 16 details the actual crime in such explicit detail that it could only link back to him actually being the one to have done it, to be able to detail it in that detail. But page 67 says, I am not a murderer. I have never killed anybody.
even if that was the very next sentence,
Yeah,
still.
correct. I put it on page 67 to make it more explicit, but you're absolutely correct. If the next sentence, after detailing everything that he did in the crime, says, but I would never ever kill anybody, I didn't do any of this. I mean, I know how it happened. That's how potentially I could have done it. You know, O.J. Simpson style.
Good morning, folks.
Yo, let's get it on.
Good afternoon.
Oh, such an enthusiastic start. Well, it's very good to be here. How do you feel? How do you feel it went on Friday at the politics Discord server? Each time we go, it gets more and more subdued. My favorite.
It's the content we have.
My favourite comments are when they are repetitions of comments and criticisms that we get here in, we'll call it our server. But over there, I'm a guest. I'm not running the show in that regard. It's not my server. I don't run the rules or set the rules or have any say in the rules. I'm a guest. So I've got to mind my P's and Q's, thank the moderators for having us there, all those sorts of things. But then when you get the comments about echo chambers and controlling mute buttons and all this sort of stuff, you're like, hello? It's not my server. I'm a guest there. That's the point. But yet, the decline of interaction from ballers has followed the exact same pattern. It's just now there's no bullshit about boycotts or any of that crap that we used to get from our own server. Oh, we'll boycott them because we're unfairly treated. All right, are you unfairly treated in a genuinely unbiased, neutral platform that I don't have control of? Oh, well, you'll still accuse me of it, won't you? While you all slowly fade into the total obscurity that you have done over on that server while we are in attendance. Nobody wanted to deal with this. And why is that? Is it because of control the mute button? So yeah, with that in mind, how does everybody think it's going over on Politics Discord server? See, they're all pretending, audience, pretending to be enthusiastic. Lead them with a gem like that and they all go completely silent. No one comes off mute. No one's interacting with me. No one's enthused to start the Monday the way it should be. Yeah, they all seemed so keen, didn't they? Please share the show. I'm sure
There's a
it'll
lot of
pick up.
ballers.
It does.
Sorry. There's a lot of ballers in there a lot of the time, but they seem to clear out 10 minutes before your show starts.
Shocking.
You've got them all running.
Yeah, and as I say, I'm running my show from a different server for that very reason. Anyway, check it out. It's, for whatever reason, maybe it's the thumbnails I pick. I just pick, like, various animals fighting to represent the politics server shows. So if you see a thumbnail that's got an FED number on it, and it's got 2 bears fighting, or 2 cockroaches fighting, or whatever it is I put on next, maybe I should change that. Rats fighting. Yeah, that was the last one. But yeah, those are the shows. So typically speaking, over the course of however long we've been doing them now, since the beginning of the year, periodically at first, but more frequently in recent history, they are the ones that get the most interaction from the ballers, i.e. the most flat earth debate. Now, saying in the pre-show that the show title is true in name only until the entirety of the Western world is converted to the understanding and knowledge that Earth is measured flat, the, in quotes, debate will continue, as in people will perceive that there is one. In reality, there isn't. The moment we concede that we understand how the globe comes to fruition from flat Earth measurements, there is no longer debate to have. But we will keep peddling that message, and I peddle it each time we get into that server, which is to say, my purpose in continuing to be here will be to tell the server, that is, someone that isn't our server when we're preaching to the converted, a group of effectively unknowns. Obviously, we know the moderators quite well now, or at least one of them, AJ, who does also join the Flat Earth debate server periodically. But there we go. Our message is to say, move forward on the front foot as a flat earther. Now, it's come to my attention, although I didn't know this over the weekend, that both myself and Level Earth Observer have come under criticism for being shills. I don't know, I haven't watched the video in this regard. But for being critical of our own side when it comes to things like understanding of the scientific methodology that has been hijacked to claim things like a globe. When we criticise people like Candice Owens for throwing the baby out with the bathwater when they decry science as being a religion, when in reality the people who have used the words of science never had it to begin with. They were hijacking the empiricism that is offered by science. Therefore, to throw science under the bus would be doing a disservice to an empirical methodology. It's also doing a disservice for the reasoning that they've stolen that terminology, like theory, experiment, science itself. They've used the terminology because it does conjure the image of empiricism, and it conjures it for a reason. The methodology does have it. Now, we have been critical of our own side, who still to this day, 10 years down the line of this subject, don't understand the how of the globe deception. They can tell the audience till they're blue in the face how the globe doesn't work, but they can't explain how we were deceived into being on a globe. And that is what we explain when we go through the methodology of science and the scientific method, that is physics, to show why they have used this magic trick to convince you of things that they have no empiricism for. That would be just so stories about lights in the sky, under the banner of science, which it isn't. So for that reason, even though I've not watched these videos that I've been told about in the pre-show, it's worth doing a quick response for anybody who's watching and going, I wonder if he'll respond to what Jaron had said about him and Level Earth Observer being presumably scammers, frauds, whatever it is that Jaron's currently saying about us. Interesting that only after literally in the last week reaching back out to him to answer questions about fallacy construction, specifically because he's about to go down and affirm the consequent for the second time after his first Netflix disaster. Perhaps he feels like that is in need of defence, therefore calling me a shill will overcome the fact that he hadn't actually recognised the affirming the consequent fallacy that I had to explain to him recently via Skype. Nevertheless, Jaron's decided that that requires me to be called a scammer again. God only knows why. Maybe Jaron is intimidated by me. It's the only conclusion I can now draw. How sad.
I don't know when you're going to learn, Nathan. He's not worth the time. He's not worth the effort. Just keep doing what we're doing.
You seem
Let
to think
him go the way he's going to go.
You've misinterpreted this by saying he's not worth the time. No, perhaps not. Perhaps Jaron as an individual is not worth my effort. I would agree. However, what Jaron does and represents, and the embarrassment potential that he can and has caused, are worth my attention. That is to say that if Jaron is not made aware of the affirming the consequent fallacy used by the good pastor taking them all to Antarctica, then what's he going to do? Fall victim of it again like he did with Netflix? No, that caused a great deal of embarrassment for me as a flat earther personally. Whether or not Jaron is worth my time is irrelevant. The embarrassment he can cause us all is palpable, even now. So I would prefer to get in touch with this individual and point out where the person taking him to Antarctica merely has an affirming the consequent fallacy to punt, under the banner of science and experimentation, end quote. It isn't. Now, you'd think 10 years down the line of me attempting to explain what science is, therefore undermining this experiment, somebody using the exact same bleeding magic trick to affirm the consequent, that's formulate a logical fallacy. That's worth knowing if you're going to fall victim of it and make every flat earther look like an idiot like they did with Netflix. Now, I would prefer that didn't happen, regardless of my liking of somebody, Neil. Whether or not I like the man is irrelevant. He can cause us great harm, can't he? Through embarrassment and inability to understand fallacy.
Yeah, but he's not going to listen to a word you say. He's not going to listen to anything you say, Nathan.
It's hard not to, Neil. You have to understand that some of the arguments that we put out into the arena of flat Earth discussion are parroted to the point where we have heard in years gone by how irritating it is to hear these winning arguments punted by the people who actually go out and debate, when they're repetitions of arguments that have come from flat Earth debate. How irritating it is for these people who go out talking about ether to hear winning arguments parroted by people that haven't listened to them and parroted garbage. Yeah, that irritates them, doesn't it, Neil? We've heard all about how our winning arguments, when they are making their way through the actual field of argumentation, through the enemy, destroying them, that irritates them, doesn't it, Neil? How would this be any different? Well, I'll get my irritation for the embarrassment that they'll suffer if they don't pay attention to the affirming the consequent fallacy they're all guilty of, if they don't recognise the experiment that it isn't, like they didn't last time. Well, last time I only got to tell them after the fact, much to their irritation, where they banished me from their community that they have taken ownership of with new age garbage. Well, in this instance, people will listen. Who's off mute? Put yourself on mute, whoever that is. I'm trying to rant here. Ruining my audio. Yeah. The irritation was put to the Globe Busters team after the fact, after Netflix, explaining the affirming the consequent with gyro compasses and pendulums. This time, it's with antipodal positioning. Now, this time, I'm not going to be as cowardly as to sit in the sidelines, wait and see what happens, hope for the best, and then be embarrassed to be a flat earther after the fact. This time, I can do it in advance. It's just an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. If we assume Earth is a sphere with antipodal positioning, then we will observe 24-hour sun in the Antarctic region. We observe 24-hour sun in the Antarctic region, therefore my antipodal global assumption is true. That's it. That's all this is. Same as Netflix. Shocking, isn't it? It's just this time it's slightly more egregious and obvious what we've been telling these people for years, because it's under the banner of an experiment. Again! Now, if this doesn't embarrass them after the fact when people take note, they prick their ears up. No, he told you in advance, didn't he? Yeah, I did. So if they suffer the embarrassment this time, what will I do? Turn around and tell you I told you so? No, I'll detach myself further, won't I? Yes, we already knew before it happened, didn't we? It was obvious to us.
Now, the funny thing is, I don't want to rewrite history. Not saying anybody here is, but I want to remember Whitsitt in the moments that he debated alongside me, and maybe a lot of you out there, where he called Globers out for affirming the consequent. I wonder what he feels about this.
I have no idea, nor do I care. All I know is that the people who are going down to Antarctica need to be made acutely aware of the fallacy that's being employed. That is to say, they assume antipodal assumptions. You go out towards the horizon with the sky above you and the ground below you, on a horizontal plane of reference in a direction that can only be flat. And when you arrive, having traversed the flat plane towards the horizon with navigation systems that require Earth to be measured and navigated flat, you assume that you are antipodal from where you began. Then you can affirm that something you see in the sky confirms your antipodal positioning system that you hadn't utilised to get there, that you hadn't observed on the journey. That's how it works. It is that simple. What we do is far more advanced. Affirming the consequent, something that we were covering 5 years ago in terms of almost every argument that they will ever put together that claims to be a globe proof. We now take aspects of the affirming the consequent fallacy, which is to say the antipodal aspect. Well, where have they got this antipodal assumption from? Well, I'll tell you where they've got it from. They've got it from a latitude-based north system that's been stretched around a globe and imposed on a non-Polaris, non-centric system that can be inferred in the south. With these two mapped star systems with respect to angles off a flat plane, you can create two separate systems with a hemispherical view of the stars representing the angles that you can see a flat sky through when you measure them on a flat plane. With those two hemispherical systems, you can put one underneath the other. That is one flat plane antipodal from another in a model. That model is called the celestial sphere model. Two flat Earth planes antipodal from one another. With the haversine, you can then project points that match the GP systems from a flat plane measurement through points on a globe. Through the globe to the points on the star they were originally measured through. That's where you get your globe conversion. You can then take that globe conversion and project it onto points on a tube to cut down the middle and roll out flat. That is how our system of navigation is used for G, that's global, positioning system. Global in name only. Projected onto a flat Mercator projection using areas of equal elevation, circles of equal altitude, in order to navigate the seas as a flat, horizontal plane of reference. There is no antipodal anything beyond the models of a flat plane originating in measurements that are angles off a flat plane to the stars that we use to navigate the Earth. So to assume that this inference, when you reverse engineer the flat map called the Mercator onto a tube, to project the tube points back onto a globe, to take the points from a globe and stretch them back out onto a flat map for the angles that you measure off Earth to the stars, with a Polaris-centric system for the north and a Sigma-Octantis-centric system for the south. At no point do you get a curved surface. You get two antipodal flat planes to create the celestial sphere. One can only be used at any particular time, north or south, and it will always be with respect to a flat Earth we are negotiating and measuring. These are the facts of the matter when you assume your antipodal globe positioning. No, you travelled along a flat surface towards the horizon with respect to flat navigational points of reference in the sky. That is what you actually do. Earth is measured flat. This extrapolation that then moves on to a reification to infer antipodal positioning when travelling on that flat plane is nothing more than an absurdity, let alone something that I would allow or tolerate when it comes to a claim to be logical consistency that's claimed to be an experiment. It's a bleeding outrage. We've been doing this for 10 years. Shout out to Pablo. Says, did the shooter miscalculate the Coriolis effect? Let's flatline these ballers. I speculated that immediately as soon as I saw the news because we were doing an after show, I think, when it came in. Yeah, we all kind of agreed that that's what we would put into the rhetoric. So it's because the shooter has calculated for Coriolis and therefore incorporating this effect that doesn't actually happen meant he was off. Thank you for the super chat.
The thing is as well, Nathan, is that the term antipodal, it glosses over the fact that it's a claim that somebody else is on the other side of a spinning ball. So that's a bit awkward and uncomfortable to say.
Yeah.
So antipodal allows you to brush over that cognitively.
Yeah, but the inference has come from a measurement of two flat planes that then get sandwiched underneath each other in a model and then get projected points around a spherical star-based system called the celestial sphere, so they can convert it to a global system between the flat plane that you've actually measured and the points in the sky that you can call a globe surface, to then reify and pretend you're moving around when the actual functionality of the mapping and navigating systems are all flat. So it makes no logical sense to infer the sphericity, to reify the antipodal positioning, to put it into an affirming the consequent fallacy. But we can say that 10 years down the line of this discussion, our counterparts in Flat Earth say that we're shills. Shout out to TVH. Says, may I have a shout out to my pet dog named Tika, who also thinks Nathan Oakley is a legend. Shout out to Tika. Sounds delicious.
In Korea, maybe.
Yum, yum, yum. I'll have two.
Is that Indian food, Tika?
Probably not. It's something we refer to here in England. But anyway, my eating a dog joke has obviously not garnered many laughs. Let's move on. We have actually got a video to cover today. We had a choice. Do I still give the straw poll I was going to suggest to the audience, or do we just go with the one we were talking about, which is the Antarctic one?
Yes, Antarctic.
My question was, should I do a straw poll?
Yeah, I guess give the audience the opportunity to pick. That would be nice.
Okay, there's a couple of videos that we can choose to cover today, and well, I say the crowd in Discord and G+, there was only two people that piped up. One said they wanted one, and one said the other. So one is this? I don't know who the videographer is. It Auto did? Who's Auto did? Anyway, we've got going to Antarctica to prove flat Earth, and we've got Roseanne Barr with David Weiss. So if you want us to cover Roseanne Barr with David Weiss, type in number 1 in the live stream chat. And if you would prefer that we covered, as we're on topic with it currently, it would be a very easy segue. The Going to Antarctica to Prove Flat Earth by Auto. Is it? What's the name of this channel? Let's just make this bigger. Autodidactic. There we go. So let us know in the chat. 1 for Roseanne Barr and Dave Weiss. 2 for Going to Antarctica. Let us know in the chat. Got mostly 2 so far. Wow, not much enthusiasm for Dave Weiss.
Nathan.
Go ahead.
Okay, can I go ahead quickly? Sorry.
Yeah,
You hear me?
go ahead.
Okay, cool. Look, while we were talking about this whole Antarctica business that Jared and them are going down to, I was thinking it's not only that it's the globe model that they're reaffirming, right? It's also the map, the AE map that they're trying to reaffirm as well. That's causing them a problem. Because I remember him saying when this whole thing came up, if we need to go down there because otherwise there's problems with the map that they present. And then I'm thinking about that, and I realize now that that map has direct relation to Dave's wife's app, isn't it? So maybe that's the whole.
You'll have to go through that again because I didn't really follow along. I was counting numbers in the live stream chat.
Sorry about that.
Honest. I can't do 2 things at once.
No worries.
I was counting the numbers. So far, it looks like we're covering Roseanne Barr.
Now, my thing is, they are very much tied to their AE map. That's also a problem, and that's this whole thing, because Jaren is standing on it that we must go down there because if we don't, then there's a problem with flat Earth, right? But it's not a problem with flat Earth. It's a problem with the fact that they hold to dear to that map. That's the problem.
Right, 2 people have changed their votes, which means, by my reckoning, it's basically level pegging because 2 people changed their votes.
So it's your choice then.
A couple more people need to vote so we can get a definitive winner. It was Dave Weiss by a country mile. Now it's yeah, I know you changed your vote OBE lines, as did Fisherman in a Box, which throws things off. I think we're going to go with Roseanne Barr. I think that is going to be the predominant winner, even with a revote. Okie dokie. Right, yeah, we're going to cover Dave. We've covered a lot of Dave recently. Maybe this is why I'm being called a shill, because I'm nothing but critical of Dave. Hey ho, it's what the audience want. What can I say? I did do a straw poll. It could have covered Auto, whatever he's called, but we didn't. We're covering this. Okay, this is less subscribed to than I was expecting. Roseanne Barr's podcast's got 500,000 subscribers. I thought she'd have more than that. Man, I used to love Roseanne. When I was growing up as a kid, watching the show called Roseanne, I loved that show.
You like that white trash show?
Yeah, it was absolutely ace. John Goodman. And I've forgotten the name of the actor, but the guy who went on to be in Big Bang Theory. With the curly hair. Yeah, that was a great show. Did you not like Roseanne?
Couldn't stand it.
Really? Why not? Okay, well, this is...
It's cheap comedy. Come on.
Yeah, that's the whole point. You put it on, it's throwaway. It's easy going. No? Okay, fine. Well, maybe a few stoners
Can't
will
compare
remember.
to Keeping Up.
What's
The English comedy?
we're talking about Roseanne Barr, though, Neil. So thanks for destroying the segue. You want to now take it onto a different comedy that we're not going to be covering specifically about a particularly famous person.
Sorry.
Okay, Neil, you do that. Go ahead. Well done. Well, way to read the room. No, okay. Neil just couldn't stand it. Anybody else got any opinion on Roseanne? I have nothing but fond memories of the TV show that was from the 80s. But there we go. Anybody else got any comments?
I love Roseanne. I grew up watching it also.
Yeah, does she not now do a? I don't watch TV, but from my understanding, she's on like what is the equivalent of Loose Women, but in America. I don't know the name of the show. What's it called?
The View?
The View. Is that correct? Does she still do that, or did she do that? Am I just making that up? Did I imagine that? Well, this is going really well. I'm glad I've got such an enthusiastic crew that can talk about a fairly well-known person so easily. Jolly good. Well, let's just get on with it then, because you're all so cooperative today.
We're going to be talking about Flat Earth, and we have Flat Earth David Weiss as our guest. Hi, Flat Earth Dave. I'm so intrigued by the whole Flat Earth thing.
Man, could she sound any more feigned? I am so... Hold on, what was the line again? Enthusiastic about the whole flat Earth thing. I mean, could she given it any more of a flat effect? That was brilliant. Oh, I'm going to have to listen to that again just because it was so funny.
Earth, and we have Flat Earth David Weiss as our guest. Hi, Flat Earth Dave. I'm so intrigued by the whole Flat Earth thing.
You sound really enthusiastic about it, Roseanne.
Yeah, I saw Eddie Bravo on your show, and you had this aha moment, and we clipped it, and it went kind of viral in the truth community. So that's how we ended up together here. Well, before we start, I want to just tell you a quick story about how you got me to take a big step in my truth career.
Oh, cool.
So I had a podcast years ago called Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. And before that, I was doing a lot of truth telling and exposing things. And I was at a music.
Has anybody watched this so we can skip past the general intro to FE? Is there a bit that we can get to that's juicy? Has anybody watched this before? If not, I'm just going to have to spin through and guess where we get to a juicy bit. No?
Stage, and I was like, wow, she really doesn't hold back. And I was like, I'm not going to hold back anymore. So thank you.
That's good. You're welcome. I don't think any of us should hold back as long as, we're not inciting anything bad or,
Sure.
doing the things that we shouldn't be doing. But
yeah, I agree. Don't hold back. If you know Earth's measured flat, tell everybody about it, regardless of their rejection of your stone cold silver bullet that you can offer them.
When we're putting puzzle pieces together about what they're doing to us in our world, I mean, it is dangerous for sure to tell that kind of truth. But
well, what truth would that be, Roseanne? Could you fill us in on your vague obscurity that you haven't really detailed? What would that be? Puzzle pieces? That doesn't really mean much. Talking very vaguely about nothing.
We have to do it. We have to.
Right. I kind of, I 100% have dedicated my life to this message. People that are listening right now, some of you are triggered. Some of you are very happy that I'm here, but I'm assuming there's a lot of people that are triggered. Why are you even talking about this subject? It's ridiculous. And that's what I said. When I first heard about
I don't know about triggered. I mean, I'm just hopeful that you'll do a good job, Dave.
it on my, I was doing a conspiracy podcast on all of the big events that had happened, and people started sending me flat earth stuff, and I just delete, and then they kept sending it, and they posted things on my Facebook. I'm like, banned for life.
Yeah, I've heard the story, Tony.
Lower some of that shoreline and the water will flow away because it needs to be contained. So the world is like a big pond. All of the oceans of the world, think of it as a pond. All of the continents, think of them as just islands. And what's containing our pond? Well, the highest land on Earth by more than double the next average height of any continent is Antarctica. Antarctica is more than double the height of any other continent on average. So Antarctica is the shoreline around our world.
How the hell do you know that? Have you checked? I mean, on all the maps, it's an island, but now from island with high walls, yeah, I can buy that. I've seen pictures of high walls, high ice shelves. Okay, yeah, fine. Now I've got to take a leap of faith that it's, what, 80,000 miles in diameter? Why? Why have I got to take this leap of faith suddenly?
Well, how do you explain when they go up in space and look down and the Earth is a globe?
How is that any relevance to his claim that there's a 74,000 mile ice wall surrounding us to make us a pond? I mean, I don't really understand why that doesn't elicit some sort of response about, well, can you back that with any sort of evidence? Is that just been accepted? No, we're going to go straight to a space question.
Yeah. So
I bet he
NASA,
doesn't. Sorry, mate. Saying Nathan, he won't go to gas laws and entropy now. I bet you.
Well, he's
We'll
been
talk
asked,
about
and
something.
I can't fault Dave in this situation. He's put something out there, which I don't agree with. He's got no evidence to back that beyond an azimuthal equidistant projection of a globe. That's it. That's where his inference come from. Okay? That's just a projection. That's a consequence of projecting a globe onto a circular single surface when it's come from an originally antipodal system of two flat planes with a perspective view of various stars. Well, okay. I don't really understand how that would ever take us to an inference of an outside edge ice wall that's literally tens of thousands of miles wide and long and wrapping around all of us, when there is no such thing to be observed. Nobody's shown this. We've just seen high walls of high shelves in Antarctica. That's it. But like I say, now we're on to a space question.
I reckon now he'll say, not flat Earth. Dave will say something like, well, you won't be able to see the full Earth from space because you've got to go. he'll go into the globe realm now, I think.
admits they don't have any photos of Earth. They say they're all put together in composite. The one picture that showed up was called on everyone's iPhone when the iPhones came out was called the Blue Marble, and Robert Simon, who's a NASA visual artist, explained.
I mean, we're still dealing with stuff from 2016 then, basically, aren't we? We're on a massive podcast and we're not leading on the front foot going, yeah, Earth's measured flat. That's all the maps are made. That's how we navigate. That's how we build things on Earth. That's how we measure the elevations of everything with respect to everything else. It's all referenced flat. No, what are we talking about? There are no photos from space. There is no space to take photos from. So if you're going to be asking about photos that come from a region that doesn't exist, point out there's no region there. She might as well have said, what about all these photos of Aslan from Narnia? She just laughed. There is no Narnia. What are you talking about? Yeah, we've got all these photos of the lion. Yeah, they're from a fake place. There is no Narnia. There is no outer space. There is no sky vacuum.
In an interview that he made it all from data, and he used Command Z a lot, and he stamped clouds in there using the same clouds multiple times, and
we've heard this multiple times since, what, 2016? What, Photoshop because it has to be. Yawn. Meanwhile, why would it and how would it have to be done? Well, okay, we've got the how of Photoshop, but how did they trick you into believing it was real? Well, by pretending that there's a second law of thermodynamics sky vacuum above your head to take these images from.
He literally made it in Photoshop. And he admits it. NASA admits they don't have any real photos of Earth other than one that was taken from the moon in 1972 or whatever year it was. And that's called the Blue Marble.
Yeah, again, from a second law of thermodynamics violation journey through a sky vacuum. I mean, this is preposterous that we're still at the stage where we're describing how NASA have faked stuff without pointing out why they'd have to fake it. They have to fake these images for a reason, because there's no space to take a picture of Earth from. There's no sky vacuum to have a rocket with a camera in.
I forget what they call that one. But we took that picture that NASA took right off their website. We put it into Photoshop, and we cranked up the levels. And the Earth had a...
Yeah, fascinating. But why? Why would they need to do it? Yeah, we know it's fake. We've been covering it for 10 years. The reason is because this is supposed to be Earth with high pressure gas that we're all breathing. And this is supposed to be 10 to the minus 17 Tor sky vacuum. So the reason they're having to fake it, which by now everybody's aware of, to the point where they're making Hollywood movies to justify the fakery. Yeah? Plant the seed of why they'd have to fake it with their version of the narrative. Well, we need to counteract that if we're being asked, as we are in this instance. Dave is being asked about it. Why they have to fake it? Yeah, we know all the pictures are fake because we haven't got a sky vacuum to take pictures from or journey through to get to the moon.
A box around it, like it was cut and pasted right in there from NASA's website. Yeah.
Well, why would they want us to believe that it's round?
There we go. We're already there. That's a very good question. That's where we all default to. And we'll get into that more. But the reason they want you to believe you live on a ball is because
you haven't got a clue. You don't know why they've lied to you. Dave's about to launch into why they'd lied to him about being on a ball. How does he know that any of them are lying? He can prove malice aforethought and deceit, can he? No, absolutely not.
Because they're hiding who we truly are. They're hiding more resources.
Who are they? How are they hiding it? What's the purpose and the motivation behind hiding it? You haven't given us anything. They're hiding who we are? What a vague, wishy-washy hippie statement that means nothing. Hiding who I know who I am. Do you mean the people who told me I was traversing a spherical surface based on model reification after measuring Earth flat were trying to hide who I know who I am? I'm Nathan Oakley. I'm a flat earther. That's because I know Earth's measured flat, though. You know, what I am and who I am isn't defined by people who claim Earth's a sphere. This is absurd. Oh, but isn't it mystical? Yeah, if you're a bleeding hippie, this will appeal to you. They're hiding who you are. No, they're not.
Think about this. Every war, what is that about? Land?
Sorry, every war that I've taken part in because it's hiding parts of me? What is this? Why is this our representative? What? I haven't got any association to any of this crap. This is nonsensical garbage. Wishy-washy, meaningless crap.
Resources, power. Right?
Ports.
Right?
Right. No, not right. What evidence have you got to demonstrate that they are hiding the shape and nature of Earth with a spherical surface that's been reified from models to hide anything? What's your standard? How have they done it? You don't even know. You can't even admit Earth's flat, Dave. Yet you're telling us about the motivation of some ethereal being that you haven't named. Who is this person that's hiding me from me?
What if there's more land? What if they tell us...
That'd be a question, wouldn't it, Dave? What if there are unicorns? I mean, we could sit around asking what if questions all day, couldn't we? I mean, we could, but it's just speculation though, isn't it? I mean, we're 10 minutes into this and you're offering up a speculation about whether or not there could be more land. No, that's not the standard. They found more land. New worlds, no less. You can show the transition from old maps without the new worlds on to new maps with new worlds on and show how they function flat. We can demonstrate this is the case. Not only can we demonstrate it, everyone's been taught about it in school. You're not going to get a single person that you can present the fact that we expanded the known territory flat to deny those facts. So what do we do as flat earthers? Oh, well, we offer an, what if there's more? No, we found more. You're living on it.
There's 8 or 9 continents or whatever the number is now.
Now? What, since finding more? Lean on that. Lean on what we found. Lean on how the territory has been expanded. Let's speculate about an azimuthal equidistant projection of an ice wall that you've never seen or justified. That for some reason Roseanne's just nodded along and asked about space for some reason.
What if there's 80 or 90,000 continents?
What if there are 80 or 90,000 unicorns? We have expanded the known territory by way of utilization of the stars to expand that pre-existing, less than current territory. In other words, there was less, now there's more, we discovered it all flat. These are stone cold facts. Now, it's obvious that the people who want to punt this narrative in the way they want it punted, that's flat Earth, want us to sound like idiots and speculate about a place where none of us have been. None of us. Yeah, this guy, like a crazy kook, is speculating about thousands of other islands that may or may not be there. They may or may not be there. We have found new worlds with an abundance of resources. We found them. Not even that long ago. Why? We don't need to speculate. Right, I've just put a link to this channel. So this is Roseanne's channel. Please let her know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. I implore you to let her know that there is better information. She doesn't need to enter into a flat earth belief. This is Roseanne. She looks like my mother. I'm telling you now, that's what my mom looks like. Just like Roseanne Barr. I hope she doesn't take offence if she listens to this. Hi, Mom. Anyway, maybe that's why I'm getting so passionate, because I can see a lot of my mom's physical characteristics in Roseanne. Either way, she doesn't need to now endeavour to enter into a flat earth belief structure. Now, maybe she's geared towards a conspiratorial, fantastical way of thinking. Maybe my very low-key, simplistic describing how Earth is actually measured won't appeal to somebody who wants to hear about fantasy and deceit from the hidden hand, and how you'll find your inner self with this flat Earth realisation. Now, I don't have any of that crap to offer, but I implore you to let Roseanne know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, he has far more down-to-earth information. Pun intended.
Maybe much more interesting. I've never heard Flat Earth Dave mention, like, you know, what the globe claim is about the horizon being a physical location, and there's video evidence and photograph evidence to show that that's not the case. You know, hashtag Black Swan. I've never even heard him speak about that. And that'd be much more interesting. If she's intrigued about flat Earth, and we can say, well, this is the claim on the table. They say there's a distance to it, 1.22 times the observer's height in feet. Yeah. But we've got evidence to show it beyond that distance, which blows that straight out the water. We don't live on a globe. I mean,
They don't want
does he not
that.
know the
They,
Black
they
Swan?
don't
They
want that.
want the
They want to
fantastical
recycle.
stuff.
They want to recycle what has been around since the birth of the Feast of Nonsense for us as a wave of flat earthers. For people like Dave, all the people that came around at the same time, me, Eric, Dave came a little bit later. But either way, all of these people have come along, and rather than doing what I was moaning about in the pre-show, which is looking constantly, searching the term flat earth, seeing what else was out there, what was new, what didn't revolve around stupid conspiracies, and I was never satisfied in what I found. Well, these guys, in spite of the fact that there is far more high-quality information being put out, especially by us, not just us, others, they aren't researching it. They aren't trying to better their understanding of the subject matter. They're just out there punting new earth and ether. And themselves. That's it. That's what they're interested in. And what's proven successful is punting the feast of nonsense. That'll get you in front of people. Fighting the false dichotomies. Talking about how the globe don't work. Talking about how NASA don't work. That's what the people want. So they're offering that because it's proven successful. Well, yeah, it's promoted algorithmically. It's the opposition that they need to fight against it, to leave it as a neutral outcome in the mind's eye of people so they can get on with their day knowing it's a globe. After a neutral outcome with a flat earther, after a false dichotomy has been presented, or an affirming the consequent fallacy in the case of the Antarctic garbage that's currently underway. Well, this is the argumentation that you would expect people who represent us to get a good grasp of. It's been 4 years in the case of the example 1 deck. Knowing how the horizon's not Earth curve, unequivocally, has been in the debate forum for 4 years. What are we talking about? NASA faked this picture. All right, how incredibly interesting. It's not like there are 25,000 suppressed flat Earth videos about the exact same subject. Who cares? You can find that with a cursory search.
If we're talking about the consistency of their results, arguing or communicating the information the way that they do, effectively, most people just have an affirming the consequent bias, because we all know that a glober can easily point out when we're affirming the consequent. They just don't accept when they're affirming the consequent. So if you're going to argue in that way, they're just going to call you out. Or even a normal person will find that as insufficient and, like you said, have a neutral outcome where they can continue going on about their day, believing in the globe.
Correct terminology too, in the globe. For it to work in the way we argue about elevation angles with respect to the flat plane, you've got to be living in the globe to square that circle.
Across the
Morning,
plane,
guys.
beyond Antarctica. There's all now, and here's the thing. There's in the flat Earth community, there's people like, don't talk about more land. You know, you can prove the Earth is flat. We can prove the Earth is flat right here from everything that we can reach and test and measure ourselves.
All right, excellent. Now we're talking.
Who was he just talking about?
Well, we'll find out. Hopefully it's good. Let's see what the standard is.
What's beyond Antarctica is speculation, but there's a lot.
Whoa. You just said we can prove it right here, right now. I was expecting you to actually do that. You're saying we can, as in speculatively, I could prove Earth's flat. Meanwhile, over in Antarctica, what's going on? Why didn't he actually do it?
Lots of evidence that
'Cause
there's
we can't.
more land beyond the shoreline of Antarctica.
So I could prove it's flat, but what I'll do is bullshit about something I've got no idea about. I can tease you with a night. He's a snake oil salesman, isn't he? I could prove it's flat, but what I'll give you in the meantime is an Antarctic speculation about more land. You can have that instead, because I could prove it's flat. But speculating about Antarctica's better.
Yeah,
So
but
you're
that's
saying
Roseanne's
that-
fault.
No, it's not.
Why didn't she ask a follow-up question? How can you prove that it's flat to me?
Because people don't know how to ask questions like that. Because again, they think differently. They're not using logic in the way that they're calling out fallacies. So oftentimes their brain just goes off into a non sequitur.
Like, okay, wait a minute. So it's like a pie, and Antarctica is the pie crust.
Well, it's not just the crust. And imagine a lake 100 miles across in the middle of Kansas. Okay. And at the center of that lake is a magnetic mountain, a mountain made from a magnet. Just a
What?
Oh my God. Wait, I'm sorry. Is he talking to Roseanne Barr?
Yes.
Okay.
He's talking about Mount Meru to Roseanne Barr. That's what he's actually doing.
It's a magnetic mountain.
Great.
So no matter where you are on that lake, your compass will point to the middle of the lake. You with?
Yeah, it'll point to it in a flat direction. So the compass itself, in terms of the way it operates, proves Earth's flat. But we're not proving Earth's flat with a compass today. No, we're speculating that there's a bleeding mountain in the North Pole called Meru. Okay. I mean, he could be proving it's flat right now, but he's not. He's speculating about bleeding mountain he's never been to. Okay. Right.
With me?
Mm-hmm.
So south is every direction away from the middle. So south, if this is the middle, south is that way, and south is that way, and south is that way, because the compass will always be pointing towards the middle. East
So that's a flat Earth proof. Is he going to point that out?
and west are circles around the middle.
Yeah, so that's how our directionality system operates with respect to circles. Outside edges of a compass reading, if you move around the North Pole, will give you east and west. It's like circles. Yeah, okay. They're all flat though, aren't they, Dave? Are we going to point out that this navigational structural system that we are all using requires Earth be flat? Are we going to point that out? Let's see.
East and west are circles. This is the Gleason's map that we
Oh, I see. So we're on to justification for the ice wall with the Gleason's map, aka azimuthal equidistant projection. I see. Right. So we're not going to point out that what you just stated unequivocally proves that Earth is utilizing a system that must have a flat plane of reference in order to navigate it with those directional systems. You're not going to point out that that's a flat Earth proof. You're going to flog your app. I see. It seems like there's a conflict of interest here. On the one hand, you've got our interest, telling people Earth's flat and how it's flat, and how something that Dave has just literally brushed past as a segue to his app proves Earth's flat. No, that's not going to be done. It's the segue to the app.
It used to be in all of the textbooks and encyclopedias and libraries, and they removed it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So If you go east and west, you can go right all the way.
The globe projection, Dave. Were you unaware that it's a globe projection? Because if I was to present this to somebody else without disclaiming how the map was made, like earlier when I talked about projecting points onto cylinders, yeah? This is a different way of projecting it. Yeah, azimuthal projection of a globe. Now, without describing how those points are plotted on a globe by way of elevation angle measurements and latitude points, the circles wrapped around the globe, my opponent, let's just say he confronts Roseanne with this map. You know, she paid you a couple of bucks and you got your app and you got your azimuthal equidistant Gleason's map, and then you show it to a baller. So Roseanne, hey, Earth's flat, check out this map. And they go, you know, that's a globe projection, don't you, Roseanne? And she goes, a what? And they say, a globe projection? The points on the map have been projected off points on a globe. Were you unaware? And she goes, oh, I didn't get that bit from Flat Earth Dave. Yeah, well, no, you didn't. He was more interested in punting his app to you than telling you that the directional system that's being used on the map, that would be north, south, east, and west, requires a flat plane of reference, for example. No, none of that detail's relevant. None of the information that's been put out for the last 6 years by us is going to be researched by these guys and verified. No, it's vilified! Rather than what's their usual bullshit rhetoric. Oh, research it for yourself. Don't trust me. Yeah, but when it comes to applying that logic to anything that's coming out in the actual flat earth arena, that's what we put out, actual information, based on research, based on formulating good logic and arguments. That doesn't get researched by these clowns. No, they'll just offer you a globe projection with a suggestion that it's a flat earth map. Now, this definitely isn't a flat earth map. No, the latitude system on it, though, you know, that is the base origin for the globe projection. And that's measured flat on the Earth. Like, measured with respect to the ground to give us the circles of equal altitude with respect to Polaris when measured flat. That's how you get your globe. So you can take your azimuthal projection from it. Of course, if you don't know that history, you just present someone like Roseanne a globe projection and somehow infer that because it's plastered everywhere that they're hiding the flat Earth. No, it's a globe projection. And that's what she'll come across if she goes across or comes across anybody with the slightest idea how to argue for a globe. I mean, they'll be given the same old crap rebuttal to this false dichotomy position that Dave's not even mentioning. He's just giving her a globe projection, isn't he? Now, if you can't tell why I'm outraged by this, then you haven't been watching the show long enough. Yeah? Maybe you need others to explain it to you without sounding too derogatory. I can only explain it to you. I can't understand it for you on your behalf. So smash that share button and maybe somebody who's got a little bit of a higher degree of intelligence can explain this to you if you're not following along. But this is an outrage 10 years into this subject. You know, this is self-serving garbage. This only benefits Dave. It does not benefit us. In fact, it does us disservice. It does us especially high disservice if this information's taken by the person it's punted to and then annihilated by someone with half a brain in the globe side of the argument, when they call it a globe projection.
Way around, maintaining your east or west direction, and then end up right back where you started from.
Mm-hmm.
The east or west direction would have proven a flat Earth if David had pointed it out. Shame. What a shame. What a missed opportunity.
Right? If you walked around your neighborhood, does that make your neighborhood a sphere? No, you're just walking around it. If the center,
I mean, does it make it a sphere? You first got to measure those points to walk around the neighborhood if you're going to reference it to maps. And the circle that you'd be walking around would be a circle of equal elevation. If you're moving around with respect to a globe to transpose it, you're describing the latitude that you're moving around. Well, that latitude is a flat Earth measurement. None of this is getting detailed.
of your neighborhood was the North Pole, the compass would point to the north.
Right. No, it makes sense. But what comes?
So you need to point out how that system of elevation angle measurements off a flat Earth. Number one, prove Earth is measured flat, because those are the circles on these maps. They all have their origins in the system of Polaris-centric circles on a flat plane. Is it going to get pointed out? No, of course it isn't. Why? Well, because you can go do your own research, or not, as the case is with Dave. This information is out there, isn't it? I periodically contact these people about this information and get called a villain.
Compass are you talking about? Any compass will do this?
Any compass. A compass points a compass points towards
north.
a magnetic force coming out of our north. If you got a table,
Pointing to that mountain that you bullshitted about earlier, it's pointing towards that when it proves the flat Earth in terms of how it references a plane that won't get mentioned. Of course, the mountain that you've never seen and doesn't even have any validation beyond the old maps with old territories and no new worlds on them. They've got a mountain depicted at the middle, have they? Oh, I see. Oh, it must be true then. Forget about proving flat Earth with these systems. There might be a mountain.
like a nice strong neodymium magnet, put it on a table, draw a big circle around it, and put a compass near it. That's going to take over. It's going to be stronger than the magnetic pole, and your compass will point towards that. And try to push that compass west. You're going to have to keep turning to maintain a west heading, because if you go straight, you're going to be going away from that magnet.
Well, yeah, on a line of latitude. Yeah, okay. We've got to measure this line, haven't we? To move around that point, the centre point, and reference it with a compass that only works with respect to a horizontal plane. All of this would be useful to prove a flat Earth if you actually just mentioned that once. Where are we going to go with this? I mean, we're talking about magnets, so I wonder where this is going. It ain't gone to proving a flat Earth, has it? I wonder what we'll use this for. Let's see if my suspicions that this is going to move into something that we despise are correct. Let's see.
Magnet, and the north will be that way, and the
because
south
on a different plane. That makes
you're just going to go. You're just going to go straight.
But I'd like to spend before.
Yeah, you're just going to go straight proving a flat Earth, Dave. Don't bother mentioning it.
We get into why are they doing it. I'd like to spend more time in your research because I find this because I just to be clear.
What research? We're on his side, putting this information out, and have been for years, and he's not mentioning any of it. So research. Back in the day, I had to search constantly to find information on flat Earth. I mean, this was the kind of crap I found, and now there's tens of thousands of examples of this kind of crap that you can easily find, because that's all there really is, at a surface level. But I mean, doing your own research when one of your own proactively contacts you to tell you about it, like I've done with Dave and Jared and various other cohorts that just continually perpetuate 2015 arguments from the Feast of Nonsense, where they don't actually prove a flat Earth, where they assume certain aspects of a flat Earth measurement, in this case, direction. It's only referenceable to a flat Earth. It's not even getting a mention.
I think you're probably a little bit more open-minded than I am. I'm like you were when you started. I don't believe in flat Earth.
I don't need to. It's measured that way. I'd shove that right down your throat the moment you mentioned belief. What do you mean belief?
Eddie Bravo on.
Yep.
I love Eddie. It was a great episode, but he's the one that gave me your number. We've been trying to book this for a long time, but I think flat Earth is absolutely crazy. So
really? Yeah, that's because you're exposed to people like Dave who talk about Mount Meru and ice walls. So I sympathise. The man in front of you has just talked complete nonsense for the last 5 minutes, hasn't he? So you think it's crazy? Yeah, it really upsets me when people have that attitude, and I know why. Because it sounds crazy, doesn't it, mate? Mount Meru and ice walls? This all sounds very bonkers. Meanwhile, we map and build on and navigate Earth flat with measurements. See how crazy I sound when I tell you those facts? Or maybe when you tell me that it is still crazy in spite of those factual data points that are measured flat being pointed out to you, you'll appeal to some global measurement that I take you to the flat Earth origins from within. Maybe you'll say it sounds crazy then. No, you won't, because it's just facts. It's just matter of fact when it's measurements of Earth and how they get turned into your sphere belief. Those sorts of things are impossible to laugh at. You can cry about them, maybe. But when some numpty clown starts telling you about mountains at the North Pole and ice walls at the edge, then you can say it's crazy, justifiably so. But this is simultaneously why we despise people like Dave being our representative. Because it leaves you with a straight face looking straight at him to tell him this subject's crazy. Are you listening, Dave? This man sees your subject matter as crazy. While you babble on about bloody ice walls and Mount Meru. Yeah? He's looking you in the eye and telling you you're a nutcase, mate. Yeah? See how angry I would get with him if he even dared suggest that I'm offering up crazy information. If he said that to me, he'd be getting a very stern look. And he'd shift uncomfortably in his chair, I assure you. Excuse me? You think me telling you about how Earth is measured is crazy? No, I'm afraid not, mate. You see, I see your unbelievably idiotic ball belief as crazy. You think there's a sky vacuum in violation of natural law? That's crazy. Yeah, I'll point out all the nonsensical garbage in your own sphere belief derived from flat Earth measurements. I'll point out how absurd they are, and then take you to the flat Earth measurements they're based on. Then we'll see who's crazy. Meanwhile, I can look Mr. Mount Meru in the eye and tell him how crazy flat Earth is, because this is what it's being punted as. It's a disgrace. 109 people watching. Good for you. Thank you for joining us. Has the water on David Wife's brain found its level yet? Says Slick James Bronson. Thank you for the super chat.
So I would like, I have a bunch of questions. I know you've gone
I think
on a lot.
most people do.
No, most people think it's crazy. So I would like you to actually convince me as a...
Looking him right in the eye while he's saying that. Did it sting, Dave? Yeah? Most people think it's crazy, Dave. Yeah? Now that, I would take such a high degree of offence to. I really, really would.
Crazy skeptic.
But then again, I've been fighting against tossers like Dave Weiss for the last 10 years, spewing their garbage nonsense about ice walls and ether. Yeah? So when I get angry about people seeing it as a stupid, crazy subject, I blame Dave. Why? Well, because this man's looked him right in the eye after listening to garbage about Mount Meru and told him it. We all know why it's deemed crazy. And Dave's the reason.
Sure. With some real info, because most people watching.
But I mean, this whole thing about Antarctica is so intriguing to me because I know about Project High Jump and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah, so
I know it's like we're not supposed to know about Antarctica.
Admiral,
what you talking about? It's on maps, and we're about to affirm the consequent by assuming antipodal position by going down there. Mr. Beast went down there recently. I've interviewed a man who was stationed there. What are you talking about, Roseanne? We're not supposed to know about Antarctica. Oh, on the contrary. It's there to make Dave make us look like nutters. That's why it's there. So Dave can waffle on about massive ice walls holding us in like a pond. That's what it's there for. And Dave's about to do an admirable job of making us all like nutters. I am in no doubt.
Byrd did Project High Jump, the high land that's containing our waters.
Did he? It sounds like, on the one hand, you're rejecting they, the evil hidden hand, as being the reason you can't find yourself, and yet simultaneously what this bullshit story about Admiral Byrd is to be taken as read. Oh, really? It's almost like you cherry-pick the information you want to affirm your bias with, Dave. Why would you suddenly believe what Admiral Byrd has to say? Yeah? Because it affirms your bias? Does it suddenly buy into an ice wall, per se? Does it have a high degree of confirmation for your shite narrative? Is that why suddenly this is taken as read?
And in the 1940s and 50s, and he said he found more land bigger than the United States on the other side of the South Pole.
So we'll trust this one man, government employed and paid. Absolutely without
South
question
Pole.
trustworthy. I mean, we'll ignore the fact that you're literally conducting an interview on one of the new worlds. I mean, why would we focus on that? Why would we focus on the expansion of the territory? When that's a stone cold fact that no one can argue with. When one man in the 40s went on the chronologicoscope and started talking about how there's extra land that we haven't found and is purely speculative, and Dave is now the arbiter of this government narrative. I mean, simultaneously, the government narrative about how we must Photoshop pictures from a sky vacuum. Oh, obviously, that's a complete hoax. Look, we found how big a hoax it was. And did you look into the Admiral Byrd hoax? Oh, you've never heard of it? Oh, this is only to be taken literally. I see. So the Admiral Byrd hoax doesn't appeal to you then? Yeah, this is to be taken as read, of course, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, that would be, from where he went from, that would be like near Australia or Africa. You think they would notice a continent the size of the United States?
Do you think they noticed Australia? I mean, it could be that it wasn't always on the maps. I mean, it's not like we found new worlds or anything. When we traversed the territory flat, and navigated it flat, and measured angles to stars to find our way home flat, and used those angles to triangulate our position flat, on flat maps. I mean, it's not like we could actually use this to prove Earth's flat or anything. But we could definitely speculate about a story that starts with them all in existence. Maybe we could stop calling them new worlds. Maybe we could stop calling the even more recent ones third world countries. I think that would be very telling if we called them third worlds and new worlds. I think we should call them developing countries. Then no one will focus about how we expanded the territory in our very recent history, where we formerly had flat maps with a certain amount of land on, and then we found more land, more worlds. Hooray! Oh, no. Worlds are those things up in the lights in the sky, aren't they? Those are the worlds. Yeah, not the resourceful and abundant territories that we are living on and colonising. No, those aren't the new worlds. The soil's all in the sky.
And he said there's also warmer lands there, which doesn't make any sense.
Definitely to be trusted. He said there was warm worlds in Antarctica. Says the nutcase who believes in Maru. Warm worlds in Antarctica, eh, nutcase? I wonder why he thinks flat Earth is crazy. Oh, there's no telling, really. It could be anything. What's that? Carry on with your warm worlds in Antarctica, Dave. You carry on.
And then he announced that on a national news show, and 6 months later he died suddenly in his sleep somehow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. Oh right. So warm worlds in Antarctica and lots of resources that we don't use, and we can ignore the new worlds and new territories that were found and were mapped and have been colonised and were discovered and moved to and moved back from flat. Yeah, I mean, could be some more worlds that are warm in Antarctica, said the nutter.
So, when you say most people...
stereotyping fallacy to follow.
Most people think the Earth is flat. This is a...
No, they didn't say that. When she and he didn't say that, Dave. Was that an invented segue to move on to your app? No, what he said was, we think you're a crazy nutcase, and he was looking you in the eye when he said it, Dave. Did you just brush past that? Did he say, I think you're a nutter, and what you heard was, I'd like to talk about Dave Weiss's app? Is that what you heard, Dave? Because that's not what he said. He said, most people think you're nuts. I'd prefer you address the fact of the matter when he addressed it to you, looking you in the eye, Dave. Because you were our representative then too, when he looked you in the eye and told you were a nutter after you babbled on about ice walls and Maru. He told you you're a nutter, Dave. That's what he did. Did you not pay attention to what he actually said to you? Did you hear, can you talk about your app now? That's what you heard, was it, Dave? No, I didn't hear them say that, Dave.
Heat map of my
I think he did
app.
actually, Nathan. I think he did actually ask him how he would convince him the Earth was flat, but then the lady interrupted and got back onto the Antarctica subject, and Dave really enjoyed jumping back on that topic. So it was missed, how he would convince him the Earth's flat, I think.
The Flat Earth Clock app. And these are just the people... These are just the people that have my app, which is less than 1% of flat earthers.
That's scary. That's like the Megan's Law website with the... I don't like to see that many people. There's that many people that are on your app.
This is the UK.
Wow.
Right?
That's
and so
wow.
they're everywhere. There's over 180,000, 185,000 now that are on the app. And that's way less than 1% of the flat earthers out there. Because once you discover this, the stories, I never met Christopher Columbus. I don't even know if he existed. And, a lot of these characters from our past, like Eratosthenes 2,000 years ago in Greece.
Measured Earth flat. Let's see if Dave gets onto Eratosthenes' angle off a flat Earth measurement. Let's see how well he does with this.
He did a sticks and shadows experiment.
Requiring a flat Earth. The shadows are presenting angles off a flat plane. Let's see if Dave does anything with this flat Earth proof.
And they pushed that through everybody. Carl Sagan pushed it in the Cosmos series, and it's in school books, and that is like one of the top proofs that kids are taught that the Earth is a globe.
Excuse me? Fundamentally misunderstanding an angle measurement. Dave doesn't understand what an angle is. Yeah, they may have pushed it as a globe proof, but I mentioned 3 times before you concluded that statement that it was a flat Earth angle measurement off a flat plane. It's a baseline and an angle to a line in the sky. 2 straight lines. The stick forms a shadow that creates an angle. You can only take that measurement if Earth is flat. Dave is under the misapprehension that because it's taught as a globe proof in schools, that he needs to reaffirm that as a fact. Wrong. It's almost like he's a disinformation agent. Why have you just told this audience that an angle measurement that can only be done off a flat Earth is a globe proof? Why have you done that?
The sticks and shadows experiment, and they say it could only happen.
Sticks and shadows experiment? I mean, it's not like I've approached Dave personally to tell him what an experiment actually is. And it's not like he's personally shut me down so he can continually misunderstand and misappropriate these terms. It seems like Dave's just a charlatan. Yeah, I have approached Dave personally to tell him what science is, and he rejected these notions. And now he's misappropriated the word experiment when describing an angle measurement. Not any angle measurement, an angle measurement off a flat Earth that he's calling an experiment. So fundamentally, Dave doesn't know what science is. This is maths. It's an angle measurement.
Happen on a globe. But
Shout out to Vlad on 0 degrees for Super Chat.
it actually, in the flat Earth model, it works perfectly. In the flat Earth model,
Do you mean it works perfectly? It can only be acquired off a flat surface. Do you mean it works? Works implies that what you will do with the angle measurement that could only come from a flat plane is functional on a flat plane.
the sun is small and close, right?
No, it's an
what
angle.
model?
He's now going to start talking about what the sun's doing. So rather than just talking about the line on the ground, which must be flat, for this angle measurement to actually function, for it to work, Earth must be flat. Dave's now going to start to speculate about what the sun is and where it is. Who cares? You're measuring an angle off the ground, 2 straight lines, Dave. It's a stone cold flat Earth proof.
We don't know what the sun is. It's just in the sky. It's small and close. So
We don't know what it is. It's small and close. It seems like you do know what it is. So when you say, I don't know what it is, but I'm now going to tell you it's small and close like in my app. You don't know what it is. Yeah, that statement's true. You're bullshitting about it being small and close. Not it's small and close. That's an affirmative statement you cannot back. Quite the contrary. The only measurement we've got with respect to this luminary are angle measurements that measure with respect to a horizontal plane. When it reaches and breaches the horizon, does that mean it's crashing into it? No, it does not. It means it's got a GP point of a piece of land or sea in the distance. Doesn't mean it's crashing into the land when from your vantage point it reaches the horizon. But for you to infer any angle measurement with respect to altitude, actual altitude, not elevation angle, actual altitude, then you can't measure it. It moves, gets closer to the horizon. So if you're going to infer its height with angle measurement, the only thing we actually do use with a flat Earth proving angle, you won't get its height. But yeah, here we are again with some snake oil salesman flogging his app telling you that the sun is close. He doesn't know, he's a bullshitter.
2 beer bottles on a desk, and then hold a light over one of them. There'll be no shadow, and the other one will have a shadow.
Right.
You can
On the flat desk to give you a flat angle, not being pointed out.
use the same math that Eratosthenes did to figure out the sphericity of your table.
No, it isn't. The angles are what he uses. He can't get angles from a curved surface. He can't infer sphericity.
Which is flat.
So just to explain the shadows and rods, if you have a curve of the Earth and you
Then you won't get a shadow that's straight. It won't form an angle.
put up dominoes, right, and you shine this,
Yeah, they won't be angles. Yeah, dominoes that you've just inferred with your hand motion around a curved surface. You've got one straight line, but you haven't got a second to form an angle with.
the ones that are on the curve would have a longer shadow.
Sorry, a longer shadow in a straight line on a curved surface? Because we're measuring angles. Eratosthenes is measuring angles off a curve? No, he's measuring them off a flat horizontal plane of reference. That's what's actually being done. Now, you inferring that he's taking the angles off a curved means that you've gone through the entire process of measuring angles to the lights in the sky, yeah, like the sun, to give us our time structures, And like Polaris to give us our latitude structures, those are angles off a plane. In order for your little hand gesture to infer that these sticks move around a sphere, you would first need to angle measure the lights in the sky off a flat plane. Then develop a hemispherical system with respect to Polaris. Then discover new lands on maps that didn't have them. New worlds, we called them. And once you've made a few more discoveries and travelled back and forth along the flat terrain with flat angle measurements and flat maps that use circles of equal elevation, you can form a second hemispherical system with respect to an inferred point that we can't actually see called sigma octantis. Then you can sandwich those two flat plane models underneath one another, antipodal. Then you can project the points that only work on the flat ground that you measured up to global positions that you measure through from hell. And then you can do your little airball dance where you take sticks and shove them into a ball that won't give you the angles that you made this system with off a flat plane. Now, that took about 60 seconds for me to go through with a comprehensive understanding of how the globe has come to fruition, with flat Earth measurements being its genesis. Meanwhile, Dave's going to start answering questions about curve angles. Sticks in a curved ground that won't give you an angle.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how they prove the Earth is round, because it looks.
No, that's how they failed to get an angle measurement. That's not how they prove Earth's round. You've missed out all the steps from angle measurements to Polaris to stretch around a ball to project out onto a cylinder to then project out onto a flat surface so we can actually use it when we navigate the surface. You've taken the in-between step of globe projection and inferred that somehow you were sticking sticks into a curved surface to get angles? No. Soon as you curve the surface, you're not getting angles anymore. But you, in your pea-brain, basic understanding of what Aristophanes did, feel that his curve angles gave him a proof of a sphere, do you? Au
Look over
contraire.
here, it's casting a longer shadow because the sun's up there, where like a sun.
Sorry, shadows. You see, you seem to have drawn straight lines on curved surfaces here, son. Can you see the problem? I'll just make it nice and big for my audience to see exactly what the problem is. You see, here, this is called an angle. But unfortunately, this line is curved, not straight, for it to be an angle. For it to be an angle, it would have to and does work like this. That would be a straight line meeting a baseline. That is what he is measuring. He ipso facto is measuring elevation angles to the sun. Yeah? So, given that he is measuring elevation angles to the sun, I think it's only reasonable that we actually define what an elevation angle is. In this case, with respect to the sun. Quote, the altitude angle, open brackets sometimes referred to as the, quote, solar elevation angle, end quote, close brackets, describes how high the sun appears in the sky. The angle is measured between an imaginary line between the observer and the sun and the horizontal plane the observer is standing on. End quote. Sustainable by design altitude angle definition. That would mean that you would need a horizontal plane to be standing on to get a baseline for this angle. Now, while you numpty dumbos seem to think that this straight line's meeting a curve is going to give you an angle and that somehow proves sphericity, no, that's delusional and idiotic. This line has no straight lines. It is a curve. It cannot ever form an angle. Ever. You do use a flat plane for an elevation angle. It's part of the bleeding definition. I've got 20 of them. That would be definitions describing how Earth must be flat for an elevation angle measurement that Aristophanes is doing off a flat Earth. Because this doesn't work. You don't get angles to curves, dumbos. Did you not spot that from your own bloody diagram when you put this into your edit?
sundial directly at noon, there's no shadow.
Right.
Proving the Earth is round.
Proving the Earth's measured flat with elevation angles, Dumbo. I mean, I think you guys are crazy when you think that a straight line meeting a curved line gives you a vertices to call an angle. My God, you guys are crazy, you ball believers with your crazy curve angles. I see you globe believers as nutcases, mate. I'd look you in the eye when you told me about how you're getting an angle from a curve with that diagram. I'd go, are you a nutter? You think a straight line meeting a curve will give you an angle? You don't know basic angle definitions. It's two straight lines, you stupid fool. Weren't you calling us idiotic earlier? You just thrown up a diagram that can't be giving you on a globe an angle to measure. Yeah, it seems like you're the crazy numpties here, globe believers, doesn't it? Yet you've got the gall to call us flat earthers by stereotype when you talk to a singular nutter. This man is a nutter. His nutcase ideas of flat earth are idiotic. Doesn't make us stupid. It doesn't make flat earth stupid. It makes him stupid with Maru and ice walls and extra land and holiday destinations the way you'll get a suntan in Antarctica because of all the heat. Yeah? This man's a nutter, not flat earth.
This
Looks
is,
like this.
you know, he.
Sorry, was that someone wanted to get a word in? Go ahead.
I did.
Well, I'd suggest you leave a long protracted silence then, Neil. That's just what we need right now.
Oh, well, I don't know if you hear me. You didn't say go ahead. I told you before I'm on the road, so I don't know if I'm dropping or coming in. A little help would be helpful. He can never point to us as nutters because we would explain it just the way you explained it just now. With elevation angles, with 90s, where you can't get an elevation angle off a curved surface, he wouldn't be able to call us crazy or nuts. What do you expect this man to call, Dave? Have you heard what this guy's been saying?
Yeah, they just sat there and took it. Probably because he knows it's true. When people say, oh, yeah, flat earth seems crazy, and he's like, yeah, let's talk about magnetic Mount Maru and ice walls and holiday destinations in Antarctica. Yeah, let's talk about that. I have no idea why these people would think a flat earth is crazy. Yeah, that's why. I've been saying it for years. This is stupid nonsense. Talk about how Earth's measured flat. Prove it's flat. That's what you should be doing if you're claiming to be Flat Earth Dave. Instead, you're just giving us all a bad name. Right.
Fantastical.
What's fantastical?
Somebody was saying the other day that they don't care about if it's a sphere or a globe as long as they got their space. As long as you don't take space away from them. Outer space and the unknown. But that's what this is. He was selling her 80 to 90,000 other continents. That's what people want. They want the fantastical nonsense that they could dream about. They don't want what we got. That's what I said in the beginning of the show. They don't want it.
Maybe. Yeah, I think the belief is better. People want the fantasy more than they just want stone cold reality. They want to be led into the hidden hand has prevented me from knowing myself. Therefore, I'm a victim. Hi, Adam.
What's the name, guys?
That was a tough one yesterday, Adam.
It's normal, thank God. I would never know what to do if England had actually won us something, mate. It's plucky losers. Much better.
Okie dokie.
I personally don't want to hear from Dave Weiss anymore. He's making me physically sick.
Were you watching the show, Adam?
No, I'm literally kind of half listening, but still. See, there you go.
I thought there'd be more ether stuff. So when people were telling me about what was going on that particular podcast, I was led to believe that it was all about ether. Obviously, we have just got far enough into it.
That's the grand finale, Nathan. You got to play more. I guarantee it's the grand finale, the ether.
All right, it's all leading up to that, is it?
Absolutely.
Oh, wonderful.
Well, he never talks about flat Earth, does he?
No.
No. He doesn't
Wait
know,
a
does
second. You're telling me his name is Flat Earth Dave and he never talks about Flat Earth? Seems to be a problem there.
I could tell you all about how Earth's measured flat. But there could be more land beyond Antarctica.
I got something to say, guys.
Say again?
Hey, guys, it's Gene.
You'll have to try that one more time.
Oh.
You want a drink?
Hello? Yo, you said it's Gene.
Hey, Gene.
Hey, Nathan, I had a little suggestion or something for you on the politics when you were getting into it with the Globers the other day. I noticed, there is some type of what is it? Could I say malice? So once we start proving them wrong and they start chanting, it's good for us to be on the offensive, to be, I don't know, like treating them a little harshly. I was just wondering. I'm not saying to stop it. I'm not saying to stop. I'm an American. We like violence and shit. All I'm saying is, when you talk to these Globers, it would help if you would tell them, "Hey, I'm taking your Crayolas away. I'm giving you the pencils now." Tell them while you're telling them that, like, this is the path. I need you. Like, we're all on the same side, and I need you on my side. Tell them we're all flat earthers. You just don't realize it. So tell them, I'm taking your kid shoes off, your kid gloves off. This is what I'm doing to you. I mean, it'd help if you tell them that. If not, it's like you're hitting them with a brick wall. Tell them this is the path to enlightenment. I don't know, just a suggestion, whatever you want to do. Brother.
Yeah, I kind of hear what you're saying. You're saying what people want is the guru with his legs crossed and his hands pointed up to the sky, going, "I am the path to your enlightenment, young soul. Follow me and you will find your path."
No, more like the dude. I'm taking your Crayolas away. This is the pencil now. See, you don't understand. Like, you're drawing with Crayolas. I'm giving you the pencils now. Like, this is real. This is, we're painting with ink now, not this an erasable marker. Pretty much that's the level you got to show them that they are on. Like, hey man, you're stupid.
Maybe I'll try that tact with them next time, and I'll see how successful it is.
Wait, I'm confused.
I
you said
think
you're
it'll work,
taking the
Nathan,
crayons
because
away and you're giving them pencils, and then you say you're drawing with ink now. So what is it? Lead or ink?
Neil, the aspect of the tool and what it's using to put the image on the paper is not really part of the analogy. It's just pointing out that, look, lads, you've been drawing with crayons till now. Now it's time to step your game up and pick up some paints. You might get messy, but that's how you learn.
Yeah, but show them there's light at the end of the tunnel. This is a path. This is not just a brick fucking wall that you hit and you die on. No, this is, tell them, yes, this is how you cross the bridge, guys. Like, we're all on the same team. Like, tell them, in order to prove this, we need more people on our side. Like that, they're like, we're all on the same side. But there's no other side to this. It's just that, I think that analogy is good, and it stops them from hitting a brick wall.
I don't think we're all on the same team. That was obvious from today.
Think on the politics. I think obviously Nathan gets his show on there, so Nathan runs with it that way, and that's great. I've been in there sometimes on my own, and with the guys that I know, good like Miggy and AJ and some of the other guys in there, Heretic, who know the score. flat Earth Jedi and everything like that. And it's happened to me a couple of times now. I've not interrupted like in a bad way. I've jumped in a little bit sometimes when there's a bit of convo going on, when it's sort of a gravity conversation or something, and tried to bring it back down to just segue into latitude or like what we're doing. And I find myself sometimes getting muted from the mods in there because I'm sort of pushing that a bit. I don't think they like it all. I mean, they like it on the show, I think, when Nathan's on, but I think when you're going in there individually, sometimes it seems like they like a bit of that chat going on. Whether it's for the audience and the viewers, I don't know, but I've found that a couple of times.
Yeah, and
I'm having to text the
also
mods saying, "Why?" Sorry, mate. Go on,
Just get
also
that
what I
last.
want to say,
Hold on, hold
it
on. Just hold on. Whoever's
it
interrupting him,
just
just get that last thought out. He was interrupted by somebody. You get a note from the mods. What?
No, then I have to text him say, I've just been mute. I've just started talking about latitude, and you've muted me. And I have to start messaging him privately. All right, we'll get you back in a minute. But I'm thinking, well, why have you muted me?
Eli, can you mute, please? Say
anyways,
that
I was
one more
saying
time.
I'd like to
Just now
remove.
Neil's off mute. I just want to hear it once without somebody from my panel or Discord completely coming off mute while they're not saying anything, just sitting off mute, destroying your audio so I can't even hear what you say. It's now the third attempt.
That was not me.
I watched you come off mute, Neil.
It was Gene, not me.
You're talking now.
Get it together.
You're talking now. Just want to hear one deck. I want to hear a conclusion to it. Right,
Yeah, just to confirm, yeah, I have found a few times I've been muted when I've tried to interrupt conversations, especially when I've brought up latitude and the elevation angles to and from Polaris. When admittedly it may have been on a different topic, the conversation, and I may have jumped in a little bit, but I'm just trying to get it back down to reality and the actual Earth measurements. And sometimes I've been muted, and then I've got a text to one of the mods and say, I've been muted for some reason. Can you let me back in? Do get let back in. But it's just a case that I've been sort of muted. That was my point.
I mean, maybe without seeing it, it's hard to make a decision on whether or not it's reasonable, because it might be if they're having an extensive discussion on an aspect of gravity that's poignant for the discussion, and then you come in and go, well, I mean, gravity's all well and good, but, we need the latitude system to take the ball to give us a need for gravity in the first place. How'd you get a latitude measurement, and before you've got to the end, you get muted?
Yeah, I just want to stop the kick in the face, show them there's a path to education.
Yeah. The way you get that is by doing what One Deck. I think One Deck's saying he's trying to do that, but finding a segue to get that point across to that audience in that moment isn't always that easy if they're into a false dichotomy argument about gravity. And maybe they don't want the argument to be drawn to a conclusion there and then by asking how you get a latitude measurement, because that will put us close to the ongoing debate about gravity that's going on. And maybe in speculation, One Deck saying, well, maybe they want that. They want a prolonged discussion because it keeps people on the channel or listening, or keeps the discussion going, whereas shutting the discussion down by saying, well, it's measured flat though, for you to reify a ball to need gravity for.
Are we going to review the Roseanne bar tomorrow? We're going to continue on that?
Probably not.
Okay, I'll watch the podcast myself and give you guys a recap tomorrow of what I saw.
Perfect. If there is something ever so specific, if you just make a note of the time, and then we can go straight to that if it's necessary. But I mean, I think
I'll timestamp it. We'll see.
It's just we've got. It seems like a fairly standard Dave Weiss interview, which if you've heard one, you've heard them all. As the argument progresses, I mean, it's, back in the day, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we might have been praising Dave for doing this, but the argument's moved on.
Can you imagine Nathan to be right there in front of Roseanne bar, just look that guy like belief has no part of this. Just to look that guy, I would have stood up at my chair and said that. Just Dave is just so clueless.
Well, he got away with it because of what Dave had been saying. You don't tend to. Most people aren't socially idiotic. That is to say, if you're going to make a statement like that to a guest who's sat 4 feet away from you about the subject that they are an expert in by their own self-declaration, being stupid, being crazy, then you've got to have a justification for doing so in that moment, right there and then. Well, when did he say it? He said it after David had a little pop at Ice Walls and Mount Meru. Then he's like, oh, well, I think Flat Earth, the subject's crazy. You're like, how are you going to argue against it? Why would you ever have the idea that this is the crazy subject, replies Dave. Well, because you talk about things like mountains at the North Pole. What's he going to come back with? Well, that's not crazy. Yeah, it is. Or because you talk about
you could tell that
ice walls surrounding us, and
you
you
can tell
offer
how
no
the
evidence.
guy
That's
is
crazy.
hungry for the information. You can tell how the guy is crazy he's hungry for the information. The guy with the glasses saying, "Give me some hard facts," and Dave just flounders.
Yeah, and maybe Roseanne's just interested in the fantasy idea of the hidden hand, the powers that should not be ruling our lives. Whatever.
I don't get what the appeal is to go to topics like Antarctica and things like that. When somebody tells me I'm crazy for being a flat earther, the first thing, I mean, I know everybody's got their own style technique, right? But the first thing I say is, well, so are my senses crazy? Because that's the only thing that the earth has ever presented to me, to my senses, is being flat and stationary. So, and I know it's not just me, it's everybody. So exactly how is that crazy when my senses tell me that there's something in particular, right? I don't get why go to Antarctica and more lands and all that stuff. Like, I don't know, just kind of. That's why when I heard he was
She
on
probably met.
Roseanne Barr and he's hitting her with all that, like Roseanne Barr is cool, but she's one that will go straight into conspiracy things and say things that probably haven't been established, right? And that's cool in the age of conspiracy, but come on, man. Like it's I don't know.
Well,
Anyway, my rant's over.
what's up, Chocolate? I was gonna say that but Dave is totally like out to lunch. And what I mean by that is every argument that he got into, Nathan pointed out in the live show that right there was a flat plane for him to just go, look, right there. And he just like evaded each and every opportunity to do that.
He doesn't know.
Yep.
It's because he doesn't know.
Shouldn't we be pulling him away from conspiracy?
Because he doesn't know it's an opportunity to prove that it's flat.
But he said it right in the beginning. What do you mean?
Each of those examples he gave with compasses, talking about going around in circles, he's not pointing out that the system itself fundamentally relies upon a horizontal plane of reference. He doesn't say that.
Yeah, but that's up to the interviewer to push him and say, wait a second, how can you, what do you mean you can prove Earth is flat right here, right now? How? And we should be leading them out of conspiracies, not into conspiracies.
Well, there you go. Not what we do here. We're not into conspiracies. These people who are covering Flat Earth are conspiracy theorists. They're into the conspiracies. They're into their 9/11. They're into their Sandy Hook. They're into all of the conspiracies. That's what they talk about. We aren't doing that. So we don't have the same mass appeal. There is no sex wow factor. Whereas if you talk about the potential of hidden lands that we haven't discovered, finding your inner self, free energy, all this crap, that appeals to people. It's just not our people, is it? The kind of people it appeals to are conspiracy people. People who it's easy to make fun of. Easy to look in the eye and call crazy. Not so easy to do that with us, is it? Because we're not covering those subjects. We're not covering conspiracy. And when people do bring it up, we shut it down. We're not interested.
Yeah, they can't call us crazy because it just does not fit. Well, what do you mean we're crazy? We're telling you Earth is measured flat. We're showing you how it's measured flat. How does that make us crazy? You're the one that thinks there's soil in the sky.
Exactly. And with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. If you are watching this on an after show, then like with the live show, hopefully one of the mods will drop a link to Roseanne's channel so you can leave her a comment that says something to the effect of Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, or at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, with a positive comment, the idea being that she would leave a link to our video were she to respond to some of the comments we've put across today. Once again, a massive thank you to today's G Plus and Discord panels for making the after show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.